It was supposed to be the greatest night of his career. The Sands Hotel sold out, Frank and Dean watching from backstage. But 47 seconds into his opening number, Sammy Davis Jr. stopped singing. The band went silent. The audience gasped, because standing up in the front section was a man who wanted him dead. This is the story of the night Sammy Davis Jr. faced pure hatred on a Las Vegas stage, and what he did next changed entertainment history forever. Before we dive into this incredible story, if you are new here, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode of Untold Legacies. And if this story moves you, drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to stand your ground when everyone wanted you to run? Now let us go back to Las Vegas, 1964. December 18th, 1964. The Sands Hotel and Casino was the crown jewel of the Las Vegas Strip. Everyone who was anyone performed there. The Copa Room was the place where legends were made, and on this particular Friday night, Sammy Davis Jr. was headlining the biggest show of the season. But let us rewind. Let us go back 6 hours before showtime. Because what happened on that stage did not start when the curtain opened. It started in a dressing room with a warning. Sammy arrived at the Sands at 3:00 p.m. Early. He always was. Preparation was everything to him. He had learned that lesson the hard way. Growing up in vaudeville, performing since he was 3 years old, you show up early, you rehearse, you check every detail, because one mistake on stage could cost you everything. His dressing room was modest compared to some of the other headliners. A mirror surrounded by light bulbs, a rack of suits, a small table with a bottle of whiskey he never touched before a show, and a photograph, always the same photograph. His father, his uncle, the Will Mastin trio. The three of them on stage together back when Sammy was just a kid, before the fame, before the Rat Pack, before any of this. He stared at that photo for a long moment. His father had told him something once when Sammy was 12 years old, after a particularly brutal show in the South, where they had been refused entry to the whites-only section of a diner. Sammy, his father had said, they are going to try to make you feel small every day for the rest of your life. Your job is not to fight them. Your job is to be so undeniably great that they cannot look away. Sammy touched the photo frame. I am trying, Pop, he whispered. A knock on the door. It was Gerald, the stage manager, a good man, been working at the Sands for 12 years, seen everything, but the look on his face right now, that was new. Sammy, we need to talk. What is wrong? Gerald closed the door behind him, lowered his voice. We have got a situation. There is a man who bought a ticket for tonight, 3rd row, section B. And look, I do not know how to say this, so I am just going to say it. He is Clan. Sammy's heart skipped. How do you know? He did not exactly hide it. Walked up to the box office wearing the hood. Took it off to buy the ticket, but he made sure everyone saw it. Said he wanted a good seat. Said he wanted to be close. Sammy sat down. His mind raced. This was not the first time. It would not be the last. He had received death threats before. Had crosses burned on lawns of venues where he performed. But this was different. This was a man sitting in the audience daring him to perform. Security wants to remove him, Gerald continued. But legally he bought a ticket. He has not done anything yet, so it is your call, Sammy. We can kick him out. We can refund his money. Or I can do the show. Sammy finished. Gerald nodded. Yeah. But Sammy, if you do this, you need to know. We do not know what he is planning. He could be alone. He could have friends. This could be a statement, or it could be something worse. Sammy stood up, walked to the mirror, looked at himself. One eye, the other, glass. Lost in a car accident years ago. A reminder that he had already survived the worst. That he was still here, still performing, still fighting. I am doing the show, Sammy said. You sure? I am sure. But Gerald, do me a favor. Do not tell Frank or Dean. Not yet. They will try to talk me out of it. Or worse, they will try to do something stupid. Gerald hesitated, then nodded. All right, but I am putting extra security near that section. Just in case. Thank you. Gerald left. Sammy sat back down. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from anger, from exhaustion, from the weight of carrying this burden every single day of his life. The burden of being excellent in a world that did not want him to be. He thought about canceling just for a second. He thought about calling the whole thing off, saying he was sick, letting someone else deal with it. But then he thought about all the people who had come to see him, the black families who had saved up for months to afford a ticket, the young performers who looked up to him, the people who needed to see someone like them succeed. He could not let them down. He would not. At 7:30 p.m., Frank Sinatra arrived, walked into Sammy's dressing room like he owned the place, which in a way he did. The Rat Pack practically ran the Sands. You look tense, Charlie, Frank said, pouring himself a drink. Big night, Sammy replied, adjusting his tie. Every night is a big night for you. What is different about this one? Sammy wanted to tell him, wanted to say, there is a Klansman in the third row, and I am about to walk onto that stage and perform anyway. But he did not. Because Frank would have stormed out there himself, would have caused a scene, would have made it about him trying to protect Sammy. And Sammy did not need protection. He needed to do this alone. Nothing is different, Sammy lied. Just want to be perfect. Frank studied him, knew something was off, but he did not push. All right, Charlie, knock them dead. Dean Martin showed up 10 minutes later, drink already in hand. There is a full house out there, Smokey. They are waiting for you. Sammy forced a smile. Then let us not keep them waiting. The three of them walked toward the stage entrance. Frank and Dean would watch from the wings. They always did on opening nights. It was tradition, a show of support, a reminder that the Rat Pack took care of their own. But as Sammy stood in the darkness just off stage, listening to the crowd chatter and clink glasses, he felt completely alone, because what he was about to do, he had to do by himself. The stage manager gave the signal. The house lights dimmed. The band started playing, the curtains opened, and Sammy Davis Jr. walked into the spotlight. The applause was deafening. 650 people on their feet, cheering, whistling, shouting his name. For a moment, just a brief moment, Sammy forgot about the man in the third row. He forgot about the hood. He forgot about everything except this. The roar of a crowd that loved him. He grabbed the microphone, smiled that $1,000,000 smile, and began to sing. His voice was smooth, effortless, every note perfectly placed. The audience was mesmerized. This was Sammy Davis Jr. at his absolute peak, master of the stage, commander of the room, untouchable. But then, 47 seconds in, his eyes did what they always did, scanned the crowd, connecting, making eye contact, and that is when he saw him. Third row. Section B, seat 14, a man, white, middle-aged, buzz-cut, stone-faced, and draped across his lap, folded neatly, deliberately, was the white hood. Sammy's voice cracked, just for a split second, a micro-pause that most people would not even notice. But he noticed, and the man noticed. A tiny smile flickered across the man's face. He had gotten to him. Sammy stopped singing, mid-word. The band, confused, played on for 2 more bars before, one by one, they trailed off into silence. The trumpet player looked at the piano player. The drummer looked at the band leader. What is happening? The audience stirred. Murmurs rippled through the room. Is this part of the act? Is something wrong? Someone dropped a glass. It shattered on the floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Frank Sinatra stepped forward from the wings. What the hell is he doing? Dean grabbed his arm. Wait. Just wait. The silence stretched. 5 seconds. 10 seconds, 15. It felt like an eternity. People started whispering. A woman in the front row leaned over to her husband. Is he okay? Sammy stood there, microphone in hand, staring at the man in the third row. And the man stared back, arms crossed, hood on his lap. A challenge, a threat, a test of wills. The stage manager rushed to the side entrance, finger hovering over the button to drop the curtain. Security guards positioned throughout the room moved slowly towards Section B. Gerald, watching from the back, felt his stomach drop. This was it, the moment everything could go wrong. But then Sammy did something no one expected. He smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a fake showbiz smile, a real smile. The kind that came from somewhere deep, the kind that said, I see exactly what you are doing and you are not going to win. Sammy walked to the edge of the stage, slowly, deliberately, each step measured. The spotlight followed him, casting his shadow long across the audience. He crouched down, getting as close to the third row as he could without leaving the stage, and he looked directly at the man. The entire room held its breath. You came all the way to Las Vegas, Sammy said, his voice calm, conversational, like they were old friends catching up, to sit in the third row of the most expensive show on the Strip, just to remind me that you do not think I belong here. No one moved, no one breathed, even the bartenders stopped pouring drinks. Well, let me tell you something, friend. I appreciate the effort. I really do. Because you paid good money for that seat. $35. That is not cheap. You got all dressed up, drove all the way here, walked through those doors, found your seat, sat down and waited all of that just to watch me. A nervous laugh from somewhere in the back. Then another. Then a few more. So here is what is going to happen, Sammy said, standing back up to his full height, shoulders back, head high. I'm going to finish this show. I'm going to sing every single song I came here to sing. I'm going to dance every single step I rehearsed for 6 weeks. I'm going to tell jokes. I'm going to do impressions. I'm going to give these 649 other people the show they paid to see. And you are going to sit right there in that expensive seat and you are going to watch, because you already bought the ticket. And something tells me you are not the type of man who wastes money." The room erupted, applause like thunder, cheers, whistles, people jumping to their feet. Even some of the people sitting near the man started clapping, though they quickly glanced at him nervously, wondering if they would pay for it later. The man himself, he did not move, did not clap, did not boo, just sat there, jaw clenched, arms still crossed. But Sammy saw something in his eyes, a flicker, just for a moment, surprise maybe, or respect, or maybe just the realization that his plan had backfired. Sammy turned back to the band, snapped his fingers. "From the top, fellas. And this time let us really give him something to remember." And he sang. He sang like his life depended on it, because in a way, it did. Every note was defiance, every high note was freedom, every dance step was proof, every smile was resistance, every gesture toward the audience was a declaration. "I am here, I belong here, and you cannot take this from me." He did a tap routine that brought the house down. He did impressions of Sinatra, Dean, and even Elvis. He told jokes that had people crying with laughter. He slowed it down with a ballad that was so beautiful, so achingly perfect, that even the waitresses stopped serving to listen. And through it all, the man in the third row sat there, motionless, silent, watching. 1 hour and 47 minutes later, Sammy took his final bow. The standing ovation lasted 6 minutes. People were throwing flowers onto the stage. Women were crying. Men were shaking their heads in disbelief at what they had just witnessed. Sammy looked one more time at the man in the third row. The man was still sitting. Everyone around him was standing, but he remained seated, arms crossed, hood still on his lap. But he was looking at Sammy, really looking, and Sammy gave him one final nod, an acknowledgement, a silent message. "You came here to break me. Instead, you watched me soar." Backstage, the moment the curtain closed, Sammy's legs nearly gave out. The adrenaline drained from his body all at once. Gerald caught him by the arm. "Easy, Sammy, easy, I'm okay. But he was not yet. His hands were shaking, his heart was pounding. The weight of what he had just done crashed over him like a wave. Frank and Dean burst through the backstage door. "Are you out of your mind? What was that? You could have been shot. You could have—" "I could have run," Sammy interrupted, his voice steady. "I could have had them throw him out. I could have cancelled the show. I could have pretended I did not see him, but then what, Frank? Then he wins. Then every coward with a hood and a grudge thinks they can scare me off a stage." Frank poured 3 glasses of whiskey. His hands were shaking too. "So what was the plan, Smokey? Shame him into submission?" Sammy took the glass, downed it in one gulp. "No, I wanted him to sit there and watch a black man command a room full of white people. I wanted him to see that his hate does not have power here, that his symbols do not scare me, that I belong on that stage more than he belongs in that seat. I wanted him to realize that he paid $35 to watch me be excellent, and there is nothing he can do about it." Frank stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, a smile spread across his face. "You are insane, Charlie. Completely insane. But you are also the bravest son of a bitch I have ever met." Dean raised his glass. To Sammy Davis Jr., the man who turned a threat into a triumph. They drank, but the night was not over. 2 hours later, as Sammy was finally alone in his dressing room, removing his makeup, there was a knock. He assumed it was Gerald or one of the staff. "Come in." The door opened, and standing there, hat in hand, was the man from the third row. Sammy froze. His heart jumped into his throat. Every instinct screamed danger, but he did not move, did not flinch, just waited. The man stood in the doorway for a long moment. Then, quietly, he spoke. "I stayed for the whole show, that was it. 4 words. Then he turned and walked away. Sammy sat there, staring at the empty doorway. He did not know what to make of it. Was it a threat? An acknowledgement? An apology? He would never know. But in that moment, Sammy realized something profound. He had not changed that man's mind, probably did not even make a dent in his beliefs, but he had done something more important. He had refused to shrink, refused to run, refused to let hatred dictate where he could stand and what he could say. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived. No return address. Postmark somewhere in Nevada. Inside, a single sentence, handwritten. "I stayed for the whole show." Sammy kept that letter in his dressing room for the rest of his career, not as a trophy, not as proof, but as a reminder that excellence is its own form of resistance, that dignity is its own form of defiance. That sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in the face of hate is simply refuse to be diminished by it. Because here is the truth that no one talks about. Sammy Davis Jr. faced racism every single day of his life. He was denied entry to hotels where he performed, could not eat in restaurants where he was the headliner, was told he was not good enough, was not welcome, did not deserve the success he had earned. But on that stage, under that spotlight, with a man who hated him sitting 15 feet away, Sammy Davis Jr. took all of that pain, all of that anger, all of that injustice, and he transformed it into the most powerful performance of his career. He did not fight hatred with hatred. He fought it with excellence, with dignity, with art, with a smile that said, "I am not going anywhere. I am not shrinking. I am not hiding. I am here, and I am undeniable." And that, more than any song he ever sang, any dance he ever performed, any award he ever won, is why Sammy Davis Jr. will always be remembered as one of the greatest entertainers who ever lived. The man in the third row wanted to make Sammy feel small. Instead, Sammy made himself unforgettable. So the next time someone tries to make you feel like you do not belong, the next time hatred stares you in the face, the next time the world tells you to shrink, ask yourself, what would Sammy do? The answer is clear. He would smile, he would stand tall, and he would give the performance of his life. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. In our next video, we're going to reveal the night Dean Martin walked off stage in the middle of a show and the heartbreaking reason why. You will not want to miss it. Make sure you are subscribed. This has been The Untold Legacy. Keep swinging, Pali.